Hey again. Today I'm going to be making toffee. So I made this last year on a friend's recommendation. She shared the recipe with me and it turned out really great. We put it in all the kids' stocking along with the jerky that I make, and everybody really loved it. I've been successful in making this. I've made it several times now. It hasn't broke on me, which I guess is a problem with making toffee. So I'll share with you how I do it, and hopefully you can have success too, and I think you'll really like the recipe. Simple ingredients. We have a cup and a quarter of just regular white sugar. I have a cup and a quarter of butter. This is salted butter, so 2.5 sticks. I put maybe a half a teaspoon or less of kosher salt and about a half teaspoon of pure vanilla. So that's what goes into the pot and gets mixed up and turns into the toffee. After the toffee's made, you put it out on a pan. It's still super hot. Then you put 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate. You could use less if you like, but the semi-sweet seems to be pretty good. And I use maybe about half a cup to a cup of chopped almonds and pecans. Again, you could use whatever nuts you want or go without the nuts. And then I like to sprinkle a little bit of sea salt on the top of it just to give it that extra little kick. So that's it for the ingredients. Really, really easy. The hard part is keeping it together and making toffee and not making a mess or something you're going to dump in the garbage. My wife keeps telling me that the other thing I need to do is refer you to my bowl making videos. So these are some examples of some of the bowls that I make, and if you want to learn how to do those, you can check out my other video. Okay, so here we go. I've turned my fire on pretty low. I just want to start out by melting the butter. And I'm gonna, as soon as I get this in, I'll start throwing the sugar in. So 2.5 sticks of butter. Hopefully you don't throw the paper in with it. I guess if I do this video again, I'll already have the butter open. Might help out. So 2.5 sticks of butter. That's 1.25 cups. 1.25 cups of sugar. I've got about, sorry about that. Got about half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you put a little bit extra, it won't hurt it. And I have a candy or just a regular thermometer here that I might use later. You want to get this up to about 285. So if you get too much higher than that, you might scorch it. If you don't get high enough, then it's not going to turn into candy. The last thing I add is just a little bit of kosher salt. So like I said, I maybe put half a teaspoon or so. I've read that will help keep the toffee from breaking. So I guess what can happen is, you know, your butter can break up into, like, the liquids will all come out of it and you'll end up with a liquidy mess. So now that I've got everything in there, I'm going to turn this up just a speck. I never do this more than about half, you know, like medium heat on my burner. So that is all the ingredients. At this point, I'm just going to start stirring, get this all melted. I'll leave the camera on for the whole thing, but I'll probably cut out a lot of this because it's just a lot of stirring. You can see how I'm moving my wooden spoon here. I'm just sort of going to be doing this the whole time, almost like a figure 8. Just keep everything off of the sides. Some people recommend using a whisk. Other people say never use a whisk, use a wooden spoon. Every time I've made it, I've used a wooden spoon. I've been successful. Another thing is you don't want to use a real thin pot, something that's going to cause you to scorch your toffee. So this is nothing fancy. It's a 20-year-old Analon pot. I think if you had one of the new, heavy duty 5-plies or something like that, that would probably be even better. Help disperse the heat and everything. So at this point, I'm just gonna let this thing play and cut out the talking. You can see here it's just started to bubble a little bit. At this point, I usually set a timer for about 10 minutes. It could take 10 minutes from here. A lot of people say 15 minutes. Just keep your eye on it. This is one of those recipes where you never walk away. So, Alexa, set timer for 10 minutes. So at this point, I pretty much stir constantly. I don't let it like really start bubbling hard, but you'll see there's some bubbles starting to happen in there. That's fine. So this has been cooking for about 4 minutes now since I set the timer. You can see it's starting to come together a little bit. When I pull it, you see how it kind of pulls away and it kind of stays together. That's what you're looking for. Everything's going good at that point. Again, I got my heat on just below medium, so I don't want to crazy boil this thing. We just want to keep it nice and hot. I've done this a few times. I'm probably up over 200 degrees on this, and we're still a few minutes away from being done. What we're looking for is a sort of a brown paper bag look, right? It's going to kind of get that brown color. A nice dark tan is what we're looking for. So it's still looking kind of white at this point, or yellow. At this point, you can see it's starting to look kind of a little foamy around the edges. That's when I know it's getting close. It's really coming together. You see it kind of holds together with itself in there. The whole thing moves like a blob. I keep it down off the sides. Just keep moving it. We're 7 minutes in now since I set my 10-minute timer. And you can see we just have kind of a slow, bubble thing going on. It's not like rapidly boiling. Okay, so I like that color. So I think at this point my assistant's gonna grab the camera and we're gonna move over to a cookie sheet that we have parchment paper set on. So I'm gonna turn my fire off and here we go. I try to spread it out a little bit. It'll kind of spread on its own as it starts to cool here. Alexa off. Okay, so as that spreads, this is where you take your chocolate. So this is still super hot, like high 200s. Throw your chocolate in it. And add as much as you want. I use 2 cups for this. I like a pretty thick chocolate layer on top. If you don't want it as thick, then just don't add as much. I think this would probably work with milk chocolate too, if you prefer that. But I think it's good with a semi-sweet. So now I let that set for about 2 minutes. Okay, I think we're close to our 2-minute mark now. So what I do at this point is just take a spatula or this sort of a cake knife and spread your chocolate. Should spread pretty easy. I try to get it out to the edges. Okay, so that's pretty good. At this point, if you got one of the grandkids at the house, then they would probably really love that. So I might save that for myself. So at this point, throw some nuts on. There we go. And we do a little sprinkle of sea salt. This is just kind of some flaky sea salt. Just doesn't take much. I just like a little tiny taste of it. And that is it. Set it aside at this point. It's recommended, I think, to put it in the refrigerator for an hour or so, and then you can bust it up and package it. I've just been letting, I have a granite countertop. I just pull this off, let it sit on the countertop, and an hour or two, it should be fine to package up. So I'll show you that final step in just a moment. Okay, here we go. This is the end product. You can see I did 3 batches. So for this 3 batches of toffee, we probably got $5 worth of butter, $5 worth of chocolate, and a couple bucks worth of nuts. So maybe $12 for 3 big batches of chocolate or toffee. And I bet this one piece would probably cost you more than that at a candy store. So at this point, I just take you could use whatever you want, but like a sharp instrument to sort of start breaking these things up, and just break them up into pieces. So you can see we get nice little candy pieces here, and they're very crunchy. Really, really good. My wife got some nice bags. We can take these pieces, put them in the bags, stick them in the stockings, and the kids end up with something that they're really, really gonna like. And I'll try to stay out of it until Christmas. I'm not a professional candy maker by any means, but this is a recipe I think anybody can do if you just want to spend, this whole thing probably took me an hour. So time well spent. Have a great Christmas.